Hey everybody, this is Ricky from Income School. Today I just want to give you a quick tutorial on Xtheme. I know a lot of you guys are using Xtheme as you build your websites, and I know that it's not all super intuitive. So let me walk you through. This is a website that we used just as an example. It doesn't even have a full article written on it. But what I wanted to do with this is just kind of walk you through Xtheme and how we do all of the customizing we do within Xtheme, okay? So first thing, if I'm starting off with a fresh new site, I'm going to click X and go to launch. Actually, let's start with overview here. I want to show you guys what's here, okay? This is where, well, okay, before that, to install Xtheme, like any theme, I'm going to go to Appearance and Themes. And there I'm going to click Upload Theme, or Add New first, sorry. And then I'm going to click Upload Theme, okay? This is where I'm going to upload a zipped file, okay? It's just a file folder that contains a whole bunch of information. The one you get from Xtheme is going to, just like many others, it's going to, when you download it, it's going to be in the zipped folder. You need to extract that folder, and from that, you're going to find another folder inside that's just called X. That's the whole name. I'm going to click Choose File, select that file from wherever it is I saved it to on my computer, hit install now, okay? Now that we've got Xtheme installed though, I'm gonna go to X Overview. Here's where I can input my license, or over here I can click Manage Licenses. This is gonna take me to ThemeCo's website where I can type in, let me show you how to do that real quick, because again, a lot of this stuff's changed. You're gonna create an account over here on theme.co/apex. And then here, for this license key that I have, I am going to type in here where it says production, the name of my website, okay? That's it. That's all I've got to do. And now my theme is licensed and everything, and we're good to go, okay? Here is also where I load demo content, okay? So I'm going to go ahead. A lot of you guys really like how we have laid out some of our sites. For most of our websites, we're using Ethos 1. If you click Ethos 1 and click Set Up Demo Content, what it's going to do is it's going to overwrite all the settings that are coming as default from Xtheme, and it's going to set up Ethos 1. What Ethos 1 looks like, the quintessential one, let me kind of show you a website that's just exactly what Ethos 1 is, and this is knifeup.com, okay? Knifeup.com has basically all the settings of Ethos 1. It's got this is called the post carousel across the top, where it's got images that come from articles that we've written. And then it's got the post slider. There are two sliders on this Ethos 1 layout, okay? The first one is called the blog slider, I think is what they call it. This is the slider that shows up on the home page. Then if I click on a category, let's go to our favorite knives. See how there's no slider here? That's because I don't have the category archive slider turned on, okay? I'm gonna show you how to turn these on and off, but if this is a category archive page. Basically, it's a page that's set up that only pulls in blog posts from the category Our Favorite Knives, okay? I can have a category called Featured Articles. Again, I don't have a category slider set up. If I wanted one, I could have one. And again, I'm going to show you real quick here how to do that in just a second. But this site is exactly what Ethos 1 looks like. So if that's what you want on your website, then Ethos 1 is the one you're going to load, okay? And you're just going to click Set Up Demo Content, and you're going to be good to go. But now you've got these features on your website, and you don't know necessarily how to turn them on or how to use them, okay? Like, how do I get articles to show up here, okay? We're going to go back here. We're going to click Appearance and then Customize. This is where I want you to do pretty much all of the customizing for how your website looks here in the customizer, okay? That's what I call it. I don't know if that's the official name, but I call it the customizer because that just makes sense to me. This is a nice visual customizer. Here I can make changes on the left. Here's the menu on the left. And every change that I make here, I'm going to be able to visibly see that change right away on the right-hand side. So here I can change the stack. There are 4 stacks that come with Xtheme: Integrity, Renew, Icon, and Ethos, okay? Well, I just told it to be Ethos because of how I set up the demo content. But here, if I wanted to change which stack I'm using, that's how I would do it. Since I'm on Ethos, there are certain settings that are specific to Ethos. Things like the post carousel and the slider, those are specific to Ethos. So if I click Ethos, here I can change several things. The top bar, this is a bar that can go above the nav bar. The nav bar is the menu bar that goes across the top. It's where my logo is, it's where my menu is, okay? That's the nav bar. The top bar can go up above it. I don't have it turned on right now, okay? The sidebar widget headings color. So if I want to change the color of the headings in the widget, this is the sidebar over to the right. I've got a photo here. I've got these headings. If I want to change the color of those headings, watch. I'll change the color here. It updates out on the right, and you can see that the color has changed. Now I'm just going to move it back to black. That's just how I want it right now. And then I can do the same thing with the sidebar text. Okay, so the sidebar, everything in the sidebar is controlled right here. All right. Now, I don't remember what it was, but let's just put it here. That works for me. Okay. All right, scroll down further and I see the post carousel. I told you that's the photos across the top. If I turn it on, which if you set up Ethos 1, it's going to be turned on automatically. You see that I have it set up. It's on. Here I can choose how many posts to display. I can have it show, I don't know how many it'll let you do, but if I said 9, it would do up to 9. I'm going to just put it back at 6. I think that's the default. And then I can choose. I can have it pick the most commented. So then the posts that have the most comments are the ones that'll show up across the top. I can have it be random. It'll just pick random posts to put up there. Or I can choose featured. And that allows me to select exactly which ones to put across the top. Okay? Here I can choose how many of these to display based on the size of a person's screen. If their screen is big, over 1500 pixels, like the one I'm using right now, it's going to show up to 5. If the screen is really narrow, like on a phone, it's only going to show 1, okay? I go down further, post slider, blog. I told you there were 2 of these. If I turn the blog one on, then I'm going to get a slider on the blog. Now it's currently blank. I don't have anything assigned to the slider. But you'll notice if I click recommended gear, that's going to take me to a category archive page. Or actually, no, that's just a web page. It's not a category archive. I haven't set up any categories on this site yet. But if I wanted to turn on, and again, this allows me to, I can choose the height of the slider, I can choose featured, random, or most commented, and I can choose how many posts to allow. Then there's the post slider archives. If I turn this one on, which it's currently on, then it's going to show a post slider on my archive pages. Again, I'm going to go ahead and turn that one off, but I'm going to leave the post slider for blog on. The last thing at the very bottom is the filterable index. Let me show you what that is. This is just a little filter that I can have it show some or all or no categories, okay? And then here I have to select which category IDs I want it to show. By default, it puts in these ones randomly, 100, 54, 101, and so on. None of these is the category ID for the one category I have, which right now is probably unassigned. And so what happens is people start their new website, they write a bunch of articles, and they don't show up. And they're like, why doesn't this work? There are 2 options. One is to find the category IDs for those articles, or 2, just turn this filter off, okay? I'm going to put my categories in the menu up here anyway, so I don't really want that little filter on the homepage. I just don't need it there, okay? All right, those are the things specific to Ethos. Layout and design, okay? Here I can choose all sorts of different things. I can choose the site layout. I have it set up to full width. Let's see what happens if I select boxed. See how it just boxed everything in? Let's go ahead and leave it full width. That's how I want it. I can adjust the site max width. This is going to adjust based on somebody's screen size. But if I make it narrower, it's going to decrease the maximum it'll allow. Okay. And then the site width percent. It doesn't seem to be changing anything, so it just may be that it's not quite doing it the way I expected. But that's the cool thing with this visual builder here, is that I can make changes here and I can see what actually happens. Okay. I can choose if I want the content on the left and the sidebar to the right. I can move the sidebar to the other side. Or I can make the default content layout full width and just get rid of the sidebar altogether. Okay. Pretty simple. It's all right here. And all you have to do, you can come in here, you can play around with this, and it doesn't actually change your live site until you hit publish. So don't be afraid to come in here and mess around, okay? I can play around with the background color. The background is out here to the right. It's also to the left, but right now the menu's blocking it. I can change this color to anything I want. Select this. I can make it red. I can make it whatever that color is. Not fantastic with colors. I can put in a pattern by selecting an image that has maybe a repeating pattern. I can put in a photo, and I can have that kind of fade. And you can, again, you can play around with that if that's something you want to mess with. I highly recommend you keep your site as simple as possible. Typography, this is where I mess with my font sizes. I can mess with, let's see, all sorts of things. Well, let's just go through it real quick. I can have my font size in pixels or M. We'll just leave it how it is. Mine are all set to 14 by default. I think they're a little smaller. I can choose what fonts to use. So, and then I can choose my main font color. These are things I select that are going to be across the site on all pages and posts. Okay. I can have it all be kind of regular. I can make it, again, just kind of play with these. So if I click in an article, okay, this is an article that's not totally finished, obviously, as you can see. If I click, let's click bold, see what happens. All right, see how it's all the content is a little bit more bold? Okay, now I can do the same thing with headings. What's my heading font? What's the weight? And then I can play with my header spacing. The default spacing is actually a little bit wide, okay? So for header one is what's used for your article topics. I can actually reduce the spacing. Let me just change that to 0.04 and watch what happens. Okay, that wasn't enough of a change, I guess. 0.01. Well, that's maybe the header 1 isn't what's across the top. I use header 3 usually throughout my article. Let's see what happens if I change header 3. That should be half the spacing. It doesn't seem to be making any difference, so maybe I'm just misremembering which header size I used on this site. Typically I'm using header 3 a lot. There we go. So I'm using header 5 apparently. So I can make it 0.001. I can make it 0. I can make it, let's make it like 0.08. See how much it changes the spacing? Okay, so again, I couldn't remember which header I used, but, and then also by default in Ethos 1, uppercase is turned on, so all my headers are going to be uppercase, okay? Widget icons on off, I've got those off. Site links, okay, so notice that the color of my links, right now they're red, and when I highlight them, they're a little bit darker red. This is where I selected those colors, okay? Again, very basic stuff. I just want you guys to get in here and play around. Typography, that's a big one. Buttons, again, I can select what color my buttons are going to be, the border of the buttons, the text in the buttons. Very straightforward. I can make them transparent, flat, or 3D. I don't have any buttons to show you right now. Oh, this submit one, that should work. If I make it 3D, see what happens. See? It totally changes the style. The button size, I can make it regular, small, large, extra large. I can make it rounded. Let's make it rounded. And see, it just rounds the edge. I'll put it back to square. Header. Okay, there's a lot of stuff here in header that you use. The navbar position, that you probably don't want to mess with too much. And honestly, you select the different options and not a whole lot changes. The logo and navigation, you can have the layout inline or stacked. If I stack it, it puts the logo on top of, you can see how it puts it on top of the menu. A lot of people like that style, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to move it back. This one gets people hung up quite a bit, the navbar top height. Okay, if my logo is taller than the navbar, it's going to make the navbar look taller, but these little lines between the words are not going to go full height, and sometimes the navbar will actually cut off the top of your article, and that's because the navbar isn't as tall as the logo. So what you should do is, if your logo is too tall, let me well, I'll make mine a little bit taller here to give you an example. So logo, you actually make it taller, you adjust the size by playing with the width. So I'm going to make this one 1200 pixels wide. It's going to increase the size of my logo. See how much bigger it is? You notice how this no longer goes all the way down to the bottom. It didn't cover up my words, but sometimes it does. Okay, if it were too big, it would. So what I can do is then I can go here and make this taller. I'm just going to play with numbers until it's just right. I'm going to make it 95. And notice how, okay, it's getting closer to the bottom. It's not quite there yet, so I'll just make it 105. Let's see what happens. All right, cool, we're there. All right, and then what I can do, and you can see how logo text here, I can play with, if I didn't have a picture logo, it would just have the words. I can change the font of that, I can change the color, the size, and all that, even the spacing, okay? I can make it uppercase, on, off. But I do have a logo here, okay? Now I can play with the logo alignment. I can make this, the bigger the number, the farther down it goes. So if I make it 25, it's going to push the logo down further, which now see it messed up my navbar height. So I'm going to actually change it. You can actually make this a negative number. Watch what happens if I go to negative 50. It moves it up, okay? So let's put it back to 15 where it was. All right. Now I can play with the text links. That's the stuff out to the right. Those are the colors. And if I hover over it, see how it's white? That's my hover color. I can make the font size bigger or smaller. Let's make this 15. That recommended gear is a little small right now. Okay, boom, 15. I can play with the font weight. I can make it bolder. And then now I can play with the top link alignment. So see how it's not really quite centered like in the middle? Let's like make it a little bit more centered. So we'll make this 40 and see where we land. Okay, see now it's a little bit more centered. I can also, if I had multiple items here, I have a couple because I have the search one there. I can space them out more or less. Let's make that 40. And now they're more spaced out, they're wider, okay? I can turn the search on or off. That search is just a feature, it's built in. And turn it off. Mobile button, the mobile navbar button, that is, well, let me just show you. See how at the bottom right, I can make a tablet or I can make it a phone, okay? That's the navbar button. So let's make it 100, just to show you the difference. Like how big that is now, okay? I can make the alignment different. I can move that around a little bit. And then header widget areas, I can put in some widgetized areas to be able to put in different features. I can turn the top bar on and off, like I said before. I can turn breadcrumbs on or off. Breadcrumbs are just, well, let me turn them on, I'll show you. They kind of just show you where you are in the site's navigation. So see, that's the breadcrumbs. We'll just leave them on for now. All right. So lots of stuff in the header. The footer, again, you can turn on widgetized areas, and that way you can throw widgets into the footer that do different things. I can change the words that are in the header. So I can take out like powered by X theme and change that to copyright 'I'll change this to 2018 income school. I can add widgetized areas down here. So now I just put in 2. It's gonna, and then I can put on, let's see. So now if I want to add some it's got this new area here. If I wanted to add some widgets into there, I could. Okay, so I'm gonna turn that back off. All right, blog. This is where I can play with a few different things like, if I want my blog posts to not have a sidebar, I can make the blog layout default full width. I can, let's see, the archives, same thing. The archives is, again, just the category pages. A lot of people ask, how do you turn off or on having the author name and stuff here? That's here in Post Meta. I can turn it on, and you'll see that this was written by Ricky@incomeschool.com on December 19th, 2016. Okay. You can also change the length of the excerpt. The excerpt is the bit that's on the home page. That's the little summary. Now here, I'll show you how I did this. I used a picture. It doesn't even show an excerpt. Portfolio, I don't even really mess with. This is if you were to create portfolios. Social, here you could put in all of your different social media accounts so that if you do put social media buttons on your website, it'll know where to point people. Site icons, this would just be like your favicon. The favicon is the little image. You don't see it here, but in other browsers, you'll see a little image that shows up here in the tab. You just need a little 16 by 16 pixel image of like your logo or whatever. Put it in your media folder, and it's going to have a URL, and you just put in the URL for your favicon. There's some little random miscellaneous things. I never mess with these. Custom, this is where I would go. I'd hit edit global CSS if you do want to do any CSS code. Menus here, I could actually mess with my menus. I don't do that here. I actually do that just in WordPress in general. Same thing with widgets. I can adjust my widgets here, but again, I do that as part of WordPress. And then additional CSS, you can type in your additional CSS here. I showed you where I do that. I actually do that here in custom. Okay, that is, and notice how I didn't hit publish. All those changes I just made because I didn't hit publish are going to go away. So my site's going to kind of go back to how it looked before. I told you that I would show you how to put things in the carousel and stuff. Let me show you that. All right. All right. So here I am. This is my article that you guys just saw. The article's up here. If I scroll all the way down past all that stuff, there's post settings, and then below that is ethos post settings. Here, see, I've got index featured post layout. This makes the featured image of the post full width on the blog index page. That is, if I turn that off and hit update, and then I click here to view the post, I'll do that once this updates. I'll do that in a new tab so we can come right back. Oh, and then I'm going to go to the home page, sorry. Here now, see, it shows the excerpt instead of that image. So that's how I did that other thing. And then the other thing I would do down here is I can choose to put it in the carousel. I can put it on the slider. So I'll click here. Now it's going to be in the slider. Now the slider's turned off, so it's not going to appear anywhere. In fact, the slider and the carousel, I think, are still turned off. You see? But if I were to turn them back on right now, they would appear. This featured image is what would appear there. Now the featured image it's just a standard piece of WordPress. You just choose right here which image to set as your featured image, and that's going to pull from your media. And then, like I said, my menus and widgets and stuff, I do that all here from within Appearance. And really, that's the majority of Xtheme. There's a lot of other customizing things you can do. When I build a new page, I can build it. Let me show you here. I have the option to write posts or build my pages in Cornerstone. I don't write my posts in Cornerstone. Don't do that. That's not really, it's not what it's good for. If I want to make a cool web page where I want to have lots of visual things, I'll do that in Cornerstone a lot of the time, but I wouldn't do that for a post. Just write your post here in the visual editor. Keep it simple, okay? I mean, other things like that for a niche website, just keep your site simple. It doesn't need to be anything more than what you see here, okay? This stuff, this is on the right, this is all stuff that's just in the widgets, okay? It's not part of Xtheme, okay? It's just part of WordPress, okay? So if you're having trouble with widgets, this is WordPress stuff, not Xtheme stuff, a little bit outside the scope of this tutorial. But again, I just really wanted to give you guys just a little bit of an introduction to Xtheme, help you to get comfortable jumping in and being able to customize your website. If you guys have further questions about Xtheme, of course, as Niche Site School students, you're welcome to ask us those questions. Really, I hope that this is going to give you the tools that you need to be able to get your website started, and then go focus on content. Content is the most important thing. You could customize your site until the end of the world, and it doesn't matter. What matters the most is that you just make your site look good, but don't go crazy about that. What matters, I mean, you make it look good, and then you move on, and you focus on content. Content is what's going to drive people to your site, and content is what's going to make you a good income from your website. All right, guys, good luck on your sites. I wish you guys a ton of success. And if you have further questions or have feedback on this video, please provide it. We'll be happy to do updates in the future as needed. All right, take care, guys.